Cool. So today we're going to talk about another fitness topic, fitness, the business side.
Yeah.
So I guess we could kind of start because I don't think a lot of people know how gyms operate and just like the behind the scenes of how a gym works, how gyms make money. So
Yeah.
why don't I start and just kind of, talk about like the corporate side of gyms, and I guess we can go into like strategies of like what different gyms do, how they, work into real estate, how they, acquire new members. There's tons of different models, boutiques, studios, uh,
Yeah.
training, all kinds of stuff. So,
Yeah.
um, I mean, the what I'm most familiar with obviously is like the corporate gyms. Um, and really what I would say, and obviously you're extremely familiar with it too, is the real main driver of the business is going to be is memberships and monthly membership dues. That's really where most of the profit is seen. And for that being said, like a lot of people, I think it's a common misconception that people are like, well, the gym, they don't want us to use their membership. Like they'd rather us not use our membership.
Yeah.
And that's something I hear all the time. They're like, you guys make so much money because we don't use our memberships. I'm like, you know, no, we most gyms want you to use your membership. One,
Yeah.
you'll stay a member longer. Um, Two, it is a business. There's retail items we have. There's word of mouth. If you're using the gym, you're more likely to talk about the gym to your friends and family, and obviously it spreads that way. Uh,
Sure.
Not to mention training, which people get enthused with by seeing the trainers in the gym, seeing those clients get results. Um, yeah, that's really what I wanted to kick it off with. But
Yeah.
what do you have to add to kind of the business side?
I think you nailed that part. I out of all the gyms I've ever worked at, whether it be with the same company in just a different location or whether it be a totally different company, there's a lot of people that say, "Oh, I'm the best member you have because I pay my membership every month and I never come in."
Yeah,
And I try in a nice way to like let them know, like, "Hey, that's not the best member actually. Like, we want you to come in.
yeah,
Number one, like you said, we want you to use your membership. We want you to see the results. We want you to stay longer. I don't want you to just pay and not come in.
yeah,
There's a couple things there. Like you said, you're not, let's really dive into this. And if you're in the fitness industry and you're in the fitness business, at some point you should be worried about
health.
how other people are living their lives.
Yeah,
And you should be worried about, you should have gotten into the business in the first place because you want to change the way people live, or you want people to be healthier. You want to be a part of that change.
yeah,
And for people not to come in, they're obviously not living and moving towards your business model or your mission statement or whatever it is. Right. So there's that piece. If they're not living towards that and they're not advancing towards their goals every single day,
hmm,
their friends and their family will eventually notice that. Hey,
yep,
you're a member of this gym, you never go. It must not be all it's cracked up to be. It must not be fun. It must be really salesy. It must be really dirty. It must be all of these things.
or waste of money. They're just like, oh well, he's a member there. He's just wasting his money.
It's just a waste, right? And then obviously there's the business aspect. There's
Mhm.
the additional services, training, retail, all of it. But that is going to be the biggest driver for any business, right? It's the membership base. So then, you dig deep into that. And, I think one of the biggest things for me when you talk about the membership base is, um, to me, it's not so much about the product that you offer.
Mhm.
It's got to be a good product, right? It's
Right.
got to be what people are looking for. Um, if you have a boutique style product, it's let's call it like an Orange Theory or CrossFit or something like that. You're only going to cater to a certain group, which is fine if that's your business model. I think the industry needs that.
Mhm.
But if you're looking for an overall successful, like kind of your general gym, if you're looking into opening your own gym, or if you're working for a corporation and you're running a gym as a GM, as a you know upper management leader of some kind. um, the product should be a good product, but it's not so much the product, it's the people that you have, for me.
Yeah.
And so it's that front desk person. It's the, do they have a smile on their face, or are they
It's the
just kind of like
experience. It's the
the,
experience.
yeah, it's the experience. So then you go back to what you were saying, members get lost in working with a trainer, and they see other members getting to their goals and working and having fun. It's an entire experience. Then you think about those members that are there 5, 6, sometimes even 7 days a week.
Mhm.
Why are they there? Why are they in the gym so often? It's because they enjoy the experience. They enjoy
Definitely.
the atmosphere. They make it a social experience, to the tune of probably not even doing the right workouts, because they're just talking
They make
and
friends there. Yeah.
socializing,
Yeah.
and you make friends. And then everybody's got that, when you're unhealthy and you have friends that are unhealthy, you're going to go down that path. When you're trying to be healthier and you have friends that all have that end goal, they're all working towards that. So
Yep.
it's,
The 5
as
people.
cliche
Yeah.
as it
Yep.
is, it's very much it changes your life, because
Yeah.
it's all of that.
The
But
5 people.
right, what about you're about to say?
Yeah, the 5 people that you hang out with, that's who, you are. Basically, you're the 6th
Yeah,
person in that group, and you'll oftentimes mimic that behavior, whether it's good or bad, or, and
100%.
you want to surround yourself with obviously positive and good influences. And the gym, I mean, we see it every day. There's people that show up at the same time, work out with the same people, having a gym partner, whether it's one person, 2 people, like that's motivation. That's a community, that's family. And that's what you want. That's the sign of, I mean, I've been at several gyms, and that's the sign of a successful gym. If it's just, I'm here by myself, like, the, I mean, it's hard to be successful if you have a gym that's kind of like that environment.
Right, right. So that's kind of the corporate side of things,
Yeah.
right? Let's dive a little bit into, if you want to maybe open your own studio,
Yeah. Yeah.
or if you're just a trainer within a club. Maybe it's a trainer within a private studio, maybe it's a trainer within a small boutique gym, or it's even a trainer within a corporate style gym.
Mhm.
I think the fundamentals are no different.
Yep.
And so I think, like, let's jump into that.
Yeah, I think really the way there's going to be differences. If you're a trainer at a boutique gym, high end Beverly Hills, you might have to dress differently. You might have to talk a little bit different to the clientele, or, do things a little different. But like you said, the fundamentals, the base of what you do should be scientifically sound. It should be the same. It should just be about giving the person a good experience. I think one of the things I teach trainers, and I as myself found out, is it's not so much, I mean, you and I, coming from a degree in science, in exercise science, and having that background, it's really not so much like how much. Some of the best trainers aren't the smartest people. That being said, some of the best trainers aren't the ones who know nothing and are just the most friendly and happy,
Right.
cool people. It's definitely a blend of that. And one of my old fitness managers used to say, you kind of got to be a chameleon. And I used to think that was a negative, like, hey, you got to be like,
Yeah.
like shady to like all the, like, that kind of has like a salesy, like negative connotation. But I mean, I understand it much more now, where like you're working with old people, young people, athletes,
Right.
just people who can't walk, like just the whole spectrum. And you want to be able to provide, an experience that's going to, one, make them come back, but two, have them see results. Those are going to be the main things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think part of that is something that I focus on mostly with my team, whether it's, fitness managers, whether it's trainers, whether it's whoever it is, obviously it's going to differ. That conversation is going to differ just a little bit. But I think the biggest piece, what you just said, is you got to kind of be a chameleon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that one of my mentors, and somebody that I've taken a lot from, has always said that, the best trainers know, and I get flack for this all of the time, whether it be fitness managers or trainers.
Mhm.
So I always like to see the result, um, the expressions on people's faces when I say this. But some of the best trainers know that their training when they're with their clients does absolutely nothing. There's 168 hours in a week.
Mhm.
If the average the average trainer will work with their clients 2 times a week, right? Obviously, the more the better. Most of the time, it's 2 hours a week. Sometimes it's even 2 hours of 30 minutes. Sometimes it's 2 hours of a full hour, or 2 times a week for 30
Right.
minutes, 2 times a
Right.
week for an hour, whatever it is. Right? That's the average, right? And that's pretty fair to say. The average person goes to the gym 3 days a week, 4 days a week, maybe. If you're working with a trainer, you're probably more inclined to go 4 to 5 times a week, but whatever.
Mhm.
That being said, there's 168 hours. If you work with your client for 2 hours a week, how much are you really changing? Right? You can't change that much, especially if they don't go to the gym on the times that you're not there.
Yep.
So the best trainer knows that not only do they have to provide a solid session for that client, for the 2 half hours, the 2 hours on average that they work with them a week. So that's super important. But they have to be so much of a chameleon. They have to be so much of that personal, they have to have that personal connection to be able to provide that client with the right program,
Mhm.
have the connection so that the client believes that they can achieve this goal. So
Mhm.
the trainer needs to know that it needs to be the right program. It needs to be, scientifically sound. It needs to be all of these things so that they can see the results when they're coming in the other days of the week. They can The trainer actually has a say in how much that person is sleeping, what
Right.
that person is eating, what that person is, how often they're exercising through the 1 hour or that one session or the 2 sessions that they're meeting with their client. It's actually the rest of the time that they're living their lives, right? And so if
Yeah.
that trainer is just the best scientifically sound trainer and he gives them the best session, but they don't keep in contact with the client until the next session,
Yep.
that client's probably not going to stay for a long period of time. That
Yep.
client's probably not going to get the results because they need help more so as silly as this would sound, but more so as a coach, as like that life coach,
Yep.
checking in on you. Hey, did you eat breakfast today? And it takes 30 seconds for that trainer, but
Right.
it's the entire world difference for that client that, hey, my trainer's checking in on me. Oh shoot, I didn't eat my breakfast like I told him I was going to. I only got 5 hours of sleep last night. That's gonna, make my workout suffer. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
I'm stressed out. I'm all of these things,
But it's an accountability.
but it's an accountability. So that trainer is now, you know, slowly making that change and that progress. And over time, over 2-3 months, that client is now going to actually see some results.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that I'm sure you probably asked the same thing is when I put a new client with a trainer, whether the trainer's new or old or whatnot, usually my first question after, a week or so is, are they coming in on their own? And if they are, that's always a good sign. Usually that means they've bought into the program. They are, that kind of gives me insight. Is the trainer giving them, workouts beyond what they're doing together? And also like just seeing that they're gonna like see the results exponentially, because like you said, the 2 hours or the 1 hour a week isn't going to do it all. Like, are they, being empowered enough by their trainer also to where they feel comfortable to do workouts on their own? Or is the trainer, and this happens a lot, is the trainer making that client so dependent on them that they only will work out with them? And that's not good for the overall business. That's not good, the best we can give the client. That's not even good for the trainer, really.
Right.
So that's one question I ask new trainers and with new clients a lot is, have they come in on their own? And again, if they do come in on their own, like, are they walking around lost? Like,
Right.
maybe the first week or two they are lost because it's brand new to them. But by a month in, they should really have a better understanding of what they're doing, and not be confused or
Yeah.
they should look
It should be a program that's ever progressing, right?
right.
And it should always
That too.
be helping. You know, you
Yep.
don't need to give them 50 different workouts to do their first month.
Mhm.
they can practice the same workout a couple times, and
Yep.
then they get more comfortable and confident with the movements that they're doing, the workouts that they're doing, where it
Yep.
is in the gym that they're going, and
Yep.
almost be like, hey, this one workout that we did, you're just going to do it for the next 3 days you come in here until you see me again. And
Yeah.
then they go to the same areas of the gym. They go to the same machines, or they use the same dumbbells, or they use the same equipment, whatever it is. And then they're getting more comfortable. Like, oh, okay, I've done this 3 or 4 times. Okay, I feel better.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to go over to that side of the gym because I don't know it yet. Um, but
We'll get there.
I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll get there, right? And that's the coolest thing
I think
is seeing clients like evolve into that.
100%. I think, and kind of, piggyback on what you said too, is like, I think one of the mistakes I see new trainers do a lot is either one, do the same exact workout every single time, which,
Mhm.
to a certain extent is good because you need to build repetition, you need to build confidence in those movements. But the flip side is, and we don't want to work in absolutes, so either of these are going to be wrong, but is doing a different workout every single time the person comes in. They sometimes trainers feel like they need to, show them something new every time, and that's going to keep them coming back because they're killing them, and they're not good at this one, and now they're not good at this one, and they're like, oh, we'll get back to that one in a couple months. Like,
Yep.
that's not even, scientifically sound in terms of like progression. You're just doing random things.
Yeah, it's crazy. I have a very specific trainer that I'm thinking about right now,
Mhm.
and this trainer has a program for their client, right?
Yep.
And I'm looking at the program and I'm trying to like dive deep into like, is this scientifically sound? Is it not? And sometimes you can't really see it. You got to have the perspective of the trainer, and this trainer, I'm asking questions like, why are we doing these specific exercises, you know, so often?
Mhm.
Um, and this trainer basically has squats for every single workout that they do with their client, and they do variations of squats, and then they go on. It's an hour session. They go on to do a different full body movement, or sorry, different full body exercise. But
Right.
every single training session, there's squats. And I'm asking, okay, is this what we're trying to do? Is blah blah blah. And this trainer's response was, yes. This client needs to do squats every single time they come in because their squats are so bad. And what we're doing is,
Yeah.
on Mondays, this client is very specifically going through squats, only focused on where their feet are.
Yep.
On Tuesdays, they're focusing on where their hips line up, and they're using a ball, and they're using bands, and they're using all of these things to be able to work in a movement. Now on the second workout, I'm not really worried about where their feet are because they'll get there, but where their
Mhm.
hips are, their third workout, I'm worried about, are they engaging their core? Are they
Yep.
moving properly? And then we practice it three different times in three different ways every single week. And then this trainer is looking at the overall progression, and
Right.
then is saying like, we're not even going to touch deadlifts or a
Right.
different major movement until we master the the squat. And he knows that the squat is, mastering that squat, you're not burning very many calories as you're perfecting it, right? Because
Right.
you're only doing a certain amount. You're not building that much muscle through the workout. You're not doing all of these things. But he takes it as an hour session. He takes 20 minutes to really dive deep into the functional movement of the squat, and then the rest of the time goes into the rest of the workout, high intensity, cardio style, all that, and is getting the client to the results. But then the homework still is copying the same style. It's the same squat every single time.
Right.
And then you look and you see this progression, and all of a sudden this client is doing, you know went from the absolute worst squat that you've ever seen to
Yep.
now is squatting over 200 pounds perfectly,
Right.
and doing more movements
The
after that.
foundation,
So
yeah.
it's the
Spending time on
foundation,
the foundation worked in that sense. And
right?
yeah.
So to your point, it's not, you can't change the workout every single time,
Mhm.
but it can't be the same workout every single time. And it really can't be the same workout for every single client. The
Right.
movements can be similar because, and this is something that, I get a lot of flack on too, is, somebody told me like everybody's body is different. And I was like, yeah, everybody's body is the same. We all have, with the exceptions of, there's exceptions to every rule, but everybody's got two legs, two arms. You're supposed to move in the same movement. So
Yeah.
if you have like a, anyway, so having that different progression for each client is very, very important as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so kind of back to I like that, back to the business side too. I think it's interesting to see how different types of gyms run. There's different models of business, high volume, low price, high price, low volume. I'm thinking like a Lifetime, they have, real high price, but it's almost like a salon and, all these,
You got everything. You got
yeah.
your restaurant, your smoothie bar, your salon, your,
Yep.
for your hair, you can get your nails done there,
Yep.
daycare, yoga, every class you can think of.
I'd be curious to see what some of their numbers are, because just from personal experience, I've seen a lot of those types of members coming back to our gym. And I don't know if it's like the recession or, people are just realizing that maybe they don't need like all of those services. They're really just looking for a gym.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, things are getting more expensive, and is a membership for $150 a month, reasonable?
Right.
I think that's being redefined, because I'm sure you've seen it over the past couple of years, and especially post COVID, we've seen a lot of gyms going. You see the signs everywhere: $10 memberships, $10 memberships. And there's intricacies in that, but like really defining like how much is a gym access worth, and then yeah.
Yeah, I think just to kind of hit on that topic, another one of, my mentor, somebody that I've always worked with really closely, has worked in um, both markets.
Yeah.
And to an extent, it's more like mid-level than, I don't want to say low level, but it's more of the higher cost,
Mhm.
kind of mid cost, mid volume, and then
Yeah.
worked in a, low cost, high volume. So some people think about it as like a lower level gym. They're really both about the same.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is knowing what you're doing before you get into that space.
Mhm.
You can't run a mid volume, mid price, kind of middle of the road gym and then have everything be worked at, in terms of a numbers perspective, where your rent is, what your overhead is, how much, your facility costs, how many people you need to run the facility, what the price point is of your labor and all of these things, and then drop your price, to a low cost, high volume. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't, it's very difficult to do that because you have a ton of variables that you're
Yep.
not accounting for. You've got a ton of, okay, well, now we've got a mid price point with a mid volume. Maybe you're seeing, let's just say you're seeing, 40,000 workouts a month, but now you're expecting to see 60 to 70,000 workouts, almost doubling. But
Supplies.
you're
Yep.
not changing your labor
Mhm.
price. Your supplies are going up. Your labor should be going up, but you're not changing labor. Now you have,
Utility,
that
everything.
affecting
Yeah.
the cleanliness of your facility. You've got that affecting, how much availability of equipment you have. You have this affecting everything that you can't just turn and change on a dime, right?
Right.
Equipment costs a lot of money. Without knowing exactly where you're at, you can't just have 20 people working in the club if you're used to having 10. You
Right.
can't just double your labor, but at the same time, you need that in order to provide the members a good experience, so that you don't lose members to go to a different gym that is already running at that pace.
Right. Right. Yeah. And then, to further build on that, there's, different techniques that companies use. So, I kind of like to think about the McDonald's model where, really they're big into real estate.
Yeah.
They own most of their locations, and that's where they see a lot of their, financial growth, in terms of like hard assets. Um, Not to mention that I think most McDonald's are franchised out. But it's interesting to see, Planet Fitness or, these other gyms where they have a certain model where they provide, we could call it a low level membership, or even, some of these gyms, or most of these gyms are brand new. Um,
Right.
to certain people, that would be, an even higher experience versus existing gyms that have been around 10, 15, 20 years. To your average gym goer, they can't differentiate between like, there's this type of machine here and there's this type. They're just like treadmills. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the average,
New.
like you said, the average gym member doesn't know the difference between hoist and pre-core and hammer strength and Cybex and Life Fitness and all of these different machines that you can have, but all they're looking at is, especially when you get to that mid price point, right? They're looking at, do I spend $30 at this gym?
Yep.
Where the service is kind of blah. Nobody really says hi or bye, or, the facility isn't really that clean.
Right.
It's got some decent equipment and it's open all the time, but I don't really enjoy my experience there versus, hey, I can go over here and I can pay $10. And yeah, there's maybe more people, but it's always clean. It's got everything I need, and from that perspective, I don't want to talk for everybody maybe that's listening, but $20 a month means nothing to me. So why would I don't mind paying the $30,
right?
But I also am not going to pay the $30 if I get a better experience and value for $10, right? And so it's not I always challenge people. It's not the money, especially when you're mid tier. We're not talking about $200 a month,
right?
We're talking mid tier. It's not the money that people are canceling for. They'll tell you, oh, it's just too expensive. It's not. It's $1 a day, right? It's not the money. It's the experience that they get when they're in your facility.
Yeah. 100%. I kind of say the same thing. Like, for the most part, when, I would say 20 to 30% of people who come into a gym, want to think about it, or they have some other kind of, objection, we would call it, or hesitation, where they're not sure. They're gym shopping. Maybe they really want to just test it out. More often than not, I don't, and same goes with training. More often than not, I don't think we get to their true objection, because we don't really ask, and that goes into like sales techniques and stuff. But we're not really figuring out like, what is it that they need. So with training, it's like, what is your goal? If they give us something very surface level, like, are we digging deeper? Same thing with memberships. Like, what is it that you need? What are you looking for? Like, oh, you're looking for a pool? Cool. We're the only gym in the area with a pool. Like certain things like that, where you can qualify them and help them understand why this may be better than this, to take everything away from a price.
Right. And
As
I think, to me,
apples to apples
for sure. So I think, to me, one of the things that I use, and maybe this is a sales technique, and I don't want to say it like in a salesy way, but something that I've always been open to is having the conversation about like, hey, listen, like, I understand that if I have 500 people coming through my front doors, I'm not going to get all 500 people. And if I can come at it from the aspect of, hey, listen, this might not be the gym for you.
Right.
This might be the gym for you, but I have to figure that out. And I can't just assume that everybody walking through the doors is going to sign up for a membership. I have to be able to take my time. And I have to say, hey, listen, to your point, what are you looking for? Are you looking for more of a CrossFit? Are you looking for more of a circuit style? Are you looking for more of a pool experience? Are you looking for classes? Are you looking for, a community style gym? Are you looking for price point? Are you looking for cleanliness? Do you not care about price? Are you looking for certain machines? Like, and obviously I'm not just, word vomiting and just asking them 1,000 questions, but I'm trying to figure out what works best for them.
Right.
And I've even, to the point where I've even said like, hey, listen, I don't think this is the gym for you. This gym is across the street. It's a lower price point. And when you feel more comfortable, we can talk about what the memberships look like here. And 9 times out of 10, they'll end up working with you because it's not a sales piece. It's oh, okay, I see why you're saying this. I trust your word now, because it's not salesy. You're literally telling me to go to a different gym.
Yeah.
But it's more of a, hey, like, I don't want to sign you up today for you to cancel in 5 days or 30 days. That does nothing for me. It does nothing for you. And in fact, I probably just gave you a really bad experience.
Right. And it's again, it all ties back to like, what is their goal? What are we trying to do, to help them with training or membership? Like, how can we fit them to the best product. And if we don't have the best product, of course we want to have the best product, but we're just being honest with them. And I think that honesty goes a long way, especially, in the states that we live in. It's, people respect you just being straightforward with them. That's one thing I've noticed. That's a big difference. It's like, I don't, I say all the time, like, I don't make commission. Like, it's just, I'm just trying to help you out,
Yeah.
towards your goal, whatever it is. And I think that goes a long way.
Then let's break that down even more, right? If we're just talking about a simple membership, now that person comes back and wants to talk about like, hey, these are my goals. You've already broken down that wall. You don't need to talk to them about, hey, I'm not trying to sell you on training. I'm trying to help you get to your overall goal. And the only way that we do that is if you're the most honest with me and I'll be the most honest with you.
Right.
And you already have that relationship established to where you're, again, it's not a sales piece at that point. So I mean, I guess to tie it all up, it's more customer service based and not sales. It's
Right.
more how can you best help them, help the member, help the client, help that person that's walking through your doors. But I think to take that and to kind of break it down even more, I think the biggest thing, especially when you talk about fitness, if we're just breaking this off and talking about trainers, I think the biggest thing that trainers are missing is the fact that if you work for a corporation, if you work for a boutique studio, wherever you work as a trainer, maybe it's an online trainer, maybe it's a, self-independent, whatever, self-made, things like that.
Yep.
Wherever you work, that is your business.
Mm-hmm.
So if you work for a corporation, you might be an employee, but you are running your own business under the umbrella of a corporation. If you're running an online training, that's your business.
Yep.
And I think that when people look at it that way, and yeah, you might be under the corporate, umbrella. If it's your business and they start thinking like it's their business,
Yep. There's ownership there.
they're going to start acting it's their business.
Mm-hmm.
Ownership, they're going to start treating their clients like it's their business. They're not, again, you take the sales part out, you take the, any kind of shady thing, it's their business, it's their reputation, it's their product that they're bringing to the table every single day. And I think that's the biggest thing that people miss, and it's more or less like, oh, I can supply you with a 50% effort because I'm under the corporate, these aren't my clients, this is the corporate's clients.
Yep.
And I can give you whatever I want because at the end of the day, you're not working with me specifically. And I think that's the biggest miss that we have in the fitness industry.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think some of the common, misconceptions of trainers is that they don't have to run a business. They are part of a big corporation or boutique or whatever, and they're just going to be given clients and you don't have to sell training or anything. Like, being a trainer is equal parts of training and business, and being able to maintain your own personal business is one of the more difficult things I find for people who are new to training, because they don't understand, like, the training doesn't just automatically keep going. You need to set goals, you need to reevaluate goals, you need to make sure they're achieving goals. So that's like the training part, but being able to project out, to talk to your clients, about money, because eventually money is going to come up, because like everything, it's a service and you have to pay. There's no way around training for free. I think that's one of the hardest parts for trainers, whether they're young or old, whether they're thinking with their own wallet. These people have seen the value, obviously, and being able to convey that to them, now we've reached this, we're going to go this far, is crucial, because otherwise you'll lose your clients, and there's natural points where people will graduate to being, on their own, which is great. Like, training isn't meant to be forever.
I think that's the hardest part for trainers to grasp.
Yeah.
Is that they should be actually working on their own instead of with them forever, because that's not realistic. That's not the way it should be.
Right. And a lot of times trainers I've seen will handicap their clients in a way that, like, they're like, I don't feel confident working out on my own. It's like, that's not a success. that's really, why would you think that that's going to bring you more business? If someone's like, yeah, I've worked with, Austin for 5 years, and someone's like, cool, most people be like, well, how much does that cost? How much have you spent? They're like, oh, I spent like, 20 grand or whatever over 5 years. And they're like, cool, are you going to keep doing it? They're like, yeah, well, I just need him to, so some people will train forever, but,
Yeah.
um,
But it
that's
should
not,
be more of that relationship.
yeah,
You know, we always talk about every trainer needs a trainer. Everybody needs a trainer, and there's reasons behind that. But it shouldn't be because they don't know what they're doing. It should be like, hey, I train with Austin for 5 years because I come into the gym 3 days a week, and when I see him for those 2 days a week, it's just a different level of
yep,
workout, and I just enjoy it that much.
yeah,
And he keeps me accountable on nutrition, even though I know what I eat. I know
mhm,
what I should eat. I know what I've been doing this forever. I know how I
right,
should do it. I just have that different level of motivation and accountability
yep,
when I'm working with Austin. That should be the conversation. It
right,
should never be the opposite. And I sometimes ask the trainers that I work with, hey, when is that client going to graduate? Like, when
mhm,
are they going to go off on their own? And not that we ever want to lose clients,
right,
but if we have the mentality that we're going to teach you everything that you should, uh, know per se,
yeah,
how long does that take? Does that take 6 months? Does that take 9 months? Everybody's going to be a little different depending on where their starting point is.
yep,
But the goal should be to say, hey, here's where we're at today. Here's your goal. When we get to your goal, you're going to graduate and you're going to continue to maintain on your own, right? We're
yeah,
going to get to your goal like somewhere like 75% of that time.
yeah,
And we're going to use 25% for, you maintaining your goal. Then you should be on your own.
yeah,
Unless, of course, the goals change
yes,
or
exactly,
there's new goals. And then we reassess. Cool. Now maybe it's a different timeline. And maybe that timeline continues to where they're always training with you and you have your forever client.
right,
But that should be the way that it runs, and not the other way around where it's just, oh, I'm going to teach my client just enough to have a good session, but I'm not going to teach them enough so that they
yeah, yeah. You froze a little bit. Oh, there you are. Um, cool. Do
yeah.
you have anything else I want to add? Just quick tips for new trainers. I know you've been working with trainers a lot more just quick like recently, but
Yeah.
anything.
I think the biggest thing that I would say is, have some, I'll kind of break this down. What are we doing as a trainer and what are we doing for our clients? I think the biggest thing for me is, we've talked a little bit about being there for the members and doing the right thing by the members. I use the analogy of real estate because I don't think anybody ever, at least initially, thinks about a real estate agent working for a company. Usually, I think people more so think about real estate agents being independent, even though
Yeah.
almost every single person, every single real estate works for a company. I use it as an analogy, right? So if you're working with a prospective client, somebody that you work with in orientation, how often are you following up? How are you confirming the appointment? Are you confirming the appointment the day before and the day of? Are
Mhm.
you sending them a follow-up email or a text or something like, thank you for coming in today?
Yeah.
How often do you do that with your clients? Thanks for coming in today. Even if they've worked with you forever, hey, tomorrow I'm just confirming the appointment tomorrow at 5. Or do we just say, hey, we always are at Wednesday at 5? Like,
Yeah.
how often are we confirming? And it's those little things as a trainer that your clients respect. How
Don't.
often are we giving them calendars? How
Yeah.
often are we giving them meal plans? How often are we giving them something else to take away? Whether they use it or not,
Mhm.
it's us giving back.
I
Um,
I would say just, yeah, don't be a casual trainer. You got to be
yeah.
all in. You got to be all in.
And how much are we giving back to them? Like, one thing I've challenged all of the trainers that I've worked with in the last month is have you ever written a thank you card
Mhm.
for your clients?
Yep.
Like, think about that. I went to a business the other day. I got a card in the mail, a thank you card in the mail, and I was like, oh my, that's the smallest little thing, but I don't forget that.
Yep.
How much time does that take? So something that we're doing is, thank you for allowing us to work with you, and believe